Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special City Council meeting, February 13th, 2019. It is 5:30. Clerk, if you will do a roll. We'll all stand for a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you roll call, please?
Counselor Davis. Counselor Yang.
Present.
Counselor Bowlby.
Present.
Counselor Cormier.
Yes.
Counselor Warner. Mayor Cozy.
Here.
Mayor Chapman.
Here. There are 3 items on the agenda today for the special meeting. We're going to take them a little bit out of order. We're going to start with 5.2. Discussion possible action by City Council pertaining to utility operations for Horseshoe Bend, including a presentation by Ryan Hill. We're going to start with Phil Weddle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Phil Weddle with Weddle Gilmore Architects. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. We've had the opportunity to work with the city over the past couple of years on the improvements out of Horseshoe Bend, and I just wanted to provide kind of a brief summary update on where work is at today and plans related to solar energy at the site, and then we'll talk about the potential of a grid-tied tower. And then as a separate agenda item, we'll talk a little bit further about potential of phase 3 and what that would look like. So to start with, I think just kind of a quick recap of the work that we've been doing over the past couple of years, and you all may be very familiar with this, but I just thought it'd be helpful to make sure we're all starting on the same page. I think as we began this project, there were really kind of 2 major goals that were outlined for Horseshoe Bend. One is the idea of a world-class experience for visitors at Horseshoe Bend and the ever-increasing number of visitors that are coming to see Horseshoe Bend. But really the other kind of second role that we've always seen for Horseshoe Bend and any visitor improvements is its ability to act as an introduction for visitors to the region, because you do have so many visitors that this is their gateway to the region. It's the first thing that many of them visit. So we felt that there was an equal responsibility for the ultimate improvements at Horseshoe Bend to introduce visitors to all those other opportunities within the region. The phase 1 improvements, the portion that's been completed and is now open, the rim viewing area, the shade structures are completed, but on the trail that is still in progress. But you see the shade structures there and some future interpretive signage that we'll be developing along those trails. And then the interpretive trail itself, the assessment trail, I understand is still ongoing. The last update I had was that we were looking at kind of the spring of this year for completion, but CTS is ongoing, working with those improvements. So those really constitute the scope of what was completed in the phase 1. Within the phase 2, which is the portion that's under construction right now, there are really 3 components to the project. There are the parking improvements, and we're completing just over 300 parking spaces within this phase 2 improvements. Those would be paved parking spaces. There's the fee station, which you can see out there that's under construction and well underway. And then there's the monument signage at Highway 89. And then there's been some landscape improvements that go along with all this, but those are kind of the major components to the project. As it relates to the PV solar array, I wanted to kind of highlight a few of the facts on that, and then we can talk about grid power, but I'll just kind of describe where we're at today. The PV array is designed currently to be a 21 kW PV array. It's assumed to provide enough energy to support phase 2. It is not designed to support future phase 3. It is just sized to kind of support the phase 2. The intent was always that we would hopefully bring grid-tied power into the site at some future point, and we would have a net metered PV array. So it didn't have to produce all of our energy, it can produce a portion of our energy and would be net metered. But in the interim, it would provide enough energy to run the fee station and all of the equipment that's located in the fee station. The PV array, the solar array, is total cost of construction is $83,500 out of a $2.75 million construction contract. So it's just under 3% of the total construction value, just to give you a sense of the scale of it. Out of that $83,500, we've already committed to and spent between $9,000 and $10,000 on the kind of final engineering and design of the PV array. So we have about $72,000, $73,000 that are in question if there is a decision made not to complete the PV solar array. I think, as I noted, we believe that there is value in completing it in that it allows you to start operating the facility immediately and to be able to start collecting revenue off of that. And you can continue to net meter it over the long term once you do extend power there, and it will pay for itself in that regard. But I also want to emphasize that as the kind of architects of the project, we don't necessarily have a stake in it one way or another. Whichever direction council wants to go, we're happy to implement. We just want to make sure that at the soonest opportunity, you're able to start capturing that revenue from the fee station so that the project can begin to pay for itself over the long term. So with that, I thought I'd turn it over to, unless there are any questions, I thought I'd turn it over to Brian Hill, and he can continue and he can talk a little bit about strategy to do with permanent power outages. So.
Phil, if I could ask you just a couple things. Just to clarify this, the solar array, it'll power the AC we're going to have inside the PVs?
That is correct. It's designed to power the PV array, the computer equipment that you have for the fee stations. There's a limited amount of lighting there, but it powers that. There's a small pump related to the irrigation system for the landscape. It powers that. And it also powers the entry gate. We have a motorized entry gate at the entry into the site that powers that. So,
Is it permanent power on the battery backup? Is that what you're running on?
it has a battery storage system for all of it, since it's not grid tied at this point. Once we have that grid tied, that would become a redundant system.
Thank you.
Is the storage facility for the batteries air conditioned?
It is, yes. And that's essential for the longevity of
I think one more point is, Bill, didn't we make provisions for a supplemental generator to plug into the system?
it. Yes, that is correct. We have designed it in such a way to where if you had a series of cloudy days for one reason or another, and say it's a monsoon and you've got a series of cloudy days, but you're running the air conditioning a lot, it is designed to where you can bring in a portable generator and plug it in to power the system to ensure that you never have a downtime if you're running low on battery storage. Thank you for reminding me of that. Any other questions? Okay, good. Turn it over to Brian.
Good evening. You asked me to take a look at the options of taking power out to Horseshoe Bend. There we go. Essentially, we currently have power at the course of the Walmart facility that's about 10,500 feet to get out to Horseshoe Bend. The initial concept was, well, over time, that area along Highway 89 is going to develop anyway. Let's take power out. It's going to be underground feed, single phase. We make accommodations for 3 phase, but we're looking at about $1.5 million that's something that we would need to contact out if we're gonna do anything timely. But there's one other option that I think council should consider. And that is, here at the substation down on Hall Road, there's a 69 kV line, it's a transmission line. That was the original line that was used to construct out of Flagstaff, the dam in Page. That goes and extends down to the corporate boundary. That particular transmission line belongs to the city of Page up to the corporate boundary. We can take our distribution voltage, which is 21.6, 21,600 volts, and underbill that 69 kV line, and then kick over a new overhead, single phase line, over to Horseshoe Bend, back off 300 or 400 feet so there's no visual impact from the highway, go underground at that point and punch in. I could do that for about 600,000, and better yet, I can do that in-house. So in spite of the fact that that's an overhead option, I think I would suggest council consider that. I would also suggest that it wouldn't have visual impacts, and that you already have monster 365 kV towers hanging out there. And in fact, out there, when you get several hundred feet away from the highway, they're really not intrusive anyway. So that's my suggestion. Tremendous cost savings. That's something that if you directed us to do, we'd have it done here sometime early to midsummer. Any questions on that?
And of course, when they build down 89, the power eventually down there, the power poles would be removed at that point.
That would be an option, absolutely. I want to bring up another point. If we were to go ahead and put it underground, one of the things that without a master plan, without a current master plan on what this is going to look like, we'd be forced to put in section cans, just because of the reels, when you come to an end of the reel, you can only pull so far underground. So section cans would be placed in areas that could be in the middle of a road. It could be in a place that we don't want in the future. And where that came up, I'd like to point out to the situation in front of Sonic. When you pull in there, there's a big, beautiful, I won't say ugly, beautiful section can, switching cubicle there, right in the middle of the driveway. Well, that was put in the early 90s, long before any of that was planned out. So unfortunately, once that's there, it's extremely expensive to move it, and you're looking at some long outages to make those changes. So nobody wanted to pay the bill that was pretty steep to try to move that. So there it is, right in the middle of the driveway, that we're gonna have to drive around forever, if you want to go to Sonic and hotel. But that's just an example of what we would be faced with, or likely be faced with, if we just went ahead with putting underground down there without a master plan.
But did you have an estimate for that?
For the overhead, about 600. So I did present this to the board last night, this idea. The board had no comments other than they were curious about funding. Obviously, this isn't in our existing budget. It's something that we could get to work on, but we'd have to authorize me to fund that out of my purchase power contingency.
And I'm assuming that this would require a payback on the general fund through perhaps Horseshoe Bend proceeds back to the utility. I mean, the utility's not going to do this for free.
We report to Page City Council, but I think you put some big smiles on some faces on the board if that was the case.
Well, there's no other benefit to the utility.
There's none. We have no other customers, no pending customers. We're simply trying to, everybody in the utility understands the importance of Horseshoe Bend, the strategic necessity to get things going out there, and everybody's ready to jump. Any questions?
I don't see a downside, I mean, unless I'm missing something.
And I'll give it up. see it as a positive.
Yeah, that's a great idea, but
If you had a motion to direct you, we can start tomorrow.
I'd like to bring up some discussion points. For one thing, I think it's a great idea, it's a great plan, and I think it fits well with the development plan we have for Horseshoe Bend. However, I'm not that ready to pull the plug on the solar array that we have designed into this phase of construction. And the reason is that, as you said, Brian, if we gave you approval tonight, you can get it done by midsummer, perhaps somewhere in that 2019 summer range. I think as Phil said, there's benefit beyond just the immediate opening of April 1st to put that solar array in. You'll get the money back. It's a design element that fits well with the site. It makes a statement that we're environmentally sensitive and that this is a nice facility, and we will get our payback. That will bring back. And I'm curious about if we were to go online and then continue to bring the power in during the summer months. How would you back meter that, and what's the value in the long term of doing that?
I love that question. Thank you for answering. And I'm not, when I give you some numbers, I'm not pulling these out of the air. And in fact, renewable energy is something that I did as a senior engineer in technology development at Arizona Public Service for several years. And so the beauty that we have in Page, and this is one of our strategies in managing this utility, is to keep it simple and cheap. And we're simple and cheap. We do have, and we're the first city in Arizona to have an interconnection program. That's not something that we're required to do, but we thought it was the right thing to do, and we had customers that wanted to do it. Rick was on the board at the time. So, what we do, and to stay within the good graces of our full power requirements contract, I don't have, I can't go buy power from somebody else if they provide all my power. So I can't buy power from them. But what I can do is, in any given billing period, I can trade energy with you one for one, and that's what we do. And in fact, that's a pretty gracious program. So that's meaning that you're not getting charged for any wires fees. We're taking that energy from you and selling you the energy that you need it. We can do that today because we just simply don't have that many customers. In terms of finances, a good rule of thumb with our current rates is for every kilowatt you put in, you're going to get about, and this is, I'm going off the NREL manual, polycrystalline silicon panels, you grade it for temperature effects, yada yada, tilted at latitude, and I noticed from the diagram I saw, the picture, it was going to be tilted somewhat less at altitude. Looking at about $2,700 worth of energy per year that you'll get from that array the first year, on average. And you look at that deterioration over about like 2% per year throughout. But eventually, you'll get that money back. It will take a long time at our rate structure. And I can't give you more in any billing period than what you generate.
Shouldn't be able to.
That's, those are the constraints that we have. That's in our interconnection agreement. We also have an interconnection spec. We have there. We don't get any, we get brownie points from Western for having it, but there's no financial incentive for putting photovoltaics or wind on our system. We just simply report that to us.
Yeah, it's picking it
So
up.
those are the numbers. I agree that there's certain environmentally green feel good. As I tell customers when they come into the utility, we want to put on this big solar array in our house, and we're going to sell you all this power. And I always love to tell them, give them the math, sit down and do the math with them. Think about the payback here. If you would like a backyard cocktail conversation piece for your friends when they come over, it's wonderful. I'm all about it.
way more loss than the cost of the solar.
I would recommend leasing a generator for the interim. If you decide not to do it. And please don't misinterpret that I'm saying that doing the solar array is a bad thing. That's purely a political decision. But if I think we can do it quicker than later, but I don't want to overcommit and miss a date and have you guys mad at me. I would be prepared to get a generator, but I know I got 6 linemen that are chomping at the bit to get going on this. However, we have other responsibilities like tree trimming that we gotta do all every year. We're currently in the middle of. We did put on a cable replacement contract that we've got to.
Picking it up out of my laptop because this is turned off.
So there's unforeseen things that could delay me, but if everything is great, which it really doesn't in the electric world, we've got to pay that quite a bit.
Well, I'm all on board with putting power in the method that you prescribed. I'm just not thinking that this is an emergency situation because the solar array will be a payoff from Horseshoe Bend proceeds in the amount of time that it's gonna take you to get power there. So it's in the contract. If we do a credit reduction, a deductive change order, we're not gonna get dollar for dollar value. It's just isn't gonna happen. And so, while we have an expensive $80,000, I doubt that's what we're gonna get back. Is that a fair statement, Joe, or do you feel like that you run that by the contractor?
Oh, there you are.
The $83,000 is the total contract amount, and as I said, approximately $9,000 to $10,000 that has already been committed. So there's about $72,000 that are in play, that are in discussion.
That would be received back if we decided not to put that in.
Yes, we'd have to go into negotiations on that, but those are the rough. But as you said, that when you're doing deductive change orders, you rarely get dollar for dollar amount.
Because this was a lump sum contract. So that line item wasn't there as specified. So we're up to somewhat the grace of the contractor to provide that number, what he's going to do back. He's got overhead and
No, it's the battery storage, how did that cost?
I do not, I don't know, we have gentlemen here from New Grid, I don't know if you have any more of the kind of sub breakdown on it, but my guess is it's less than half.
How much does it cost to lease the generator per month? If we had to do it for 3 months or 4 months?
I don't have a number for you. I'm sorry, I didn't come prepared with a number like that. I'm gonna guess a few thousand a month. You don't need it to be very big. Not very big.
is the system that we designed with the generator backup conducive to not putting in solar and just using the generator as Brian suggested?
I don't believe so. I think we'd have to rework the system to be able to go that route. If we decide we are going to remove the entire PV array, we've got to rework the electrical system to be able to allow for that to happen. So there's some rework on that. As part of that. It's not just as simple as taking the days off and batteries out.
But we could do solar and then also do overhead.
You can do solar and you can do overhead, yes. I mean, we can do that as a grid tied system, and it was designed that way from the beginning. In fact, the entire canopy, I mean, just to kind of back up and give a little bit more history on that, and the tilt of it and the orientation, the design, it was designed completely to provide solar. That's why it's tilted the way that it is, and so much of the design of that kind of B station is designed because of our goal of trying to generate energy with the PV solar array. So it would have been completely different if we approached it. PV was not part of the conversation.
What would we do for the surface material for the roof? The roofing material is the PV array. Is that correct?
There are crystalline panels that are mounted on top of the steel decking. Steel decking would be the roofing material regardless.
I'm hesitant to interrupt the design as close as we are, and we're already working out there. I think, I mean, we're talking, how long does it take to collect this at Horseshoe Bend? I mean, how many cars a day are we running, are we estimating?
We're the month of, what month do you want?
May.
Well, March, we're talking about, 700, 800, 900 cars a day. And that number's
There's all bill on it, but, I mean, you pick one of them up.
That's what I'm saying, it's a little, it's a day late and a dime short
Exactly.
to make this decision at this point in time. We were looking at a $1.6 million bill to put power at Horseshoe Bend. When this contract was designed and this phase was developed. So now that we know there's a $600,000 option, if we'd known that a year and a half ago, we for sure would have had a
Absolutely.
attitude. But I think the payoff is, I think it's a great idea, and I think we should move forward, but I don't think we should move forward in an emergency fashion because we are gonna lose $100,000 a month by not having a fee station. Well, I should back up though. You did have a good suggestion, and that is for $3,000 or $4,000 a month, you could provide power. So that's true. But I just feel like we passed the decision point on this a long time ago.
He's got to stop and redesign electrical. I think, yeah, I think we're pushing the project off, potentially.
I'm open to a
I'm
motion.
shaking his head, so.
This is a special need, so we, if we don't do a motion, basically the project continues unless we want to do a motion to make Brian start.
I move we direct DOE to go ahead with the overground, underground line extension.
As Brian said, he doesn't have that in his budget other than pulling out a contingency. If we want to move this into 2020 budget cycle, make the proper financial arrangements with the finance department to procure a loan to the PUA for that work with interest, then Horseshoe Bend pays the utility for a 5-year term, 6% interest, something like that, and both of us benefit by putting this in the plan rather than an immediate reaction. Just I would favor we plan this in parcel to the phase 3 construction, that we appropriate loans with the utility, we gather that interest and let the Horseshoe Bend proceeds.
Oh, just one more question for you, Brian. If we were to go this route, we would not have power pulled along that 10,500 foot stretch from Walmart.
That's correct.
Therefore, let's say that land that's potentially developable would not have power. We would have to pull that separately later at a separate cost.
That's correct. But as necessary, we don't have a master plan over it.
But yeah, we need the master plan in order to know where to put the sections in, so that, like you said, we're not only have the section things in the driveways, we're spending another $100,000 to move the section in, so it's going to be.
Okay, makes sense.
We could put your power, the way you have it designed, into Horseshoe Bend to accommodate the phase 3 construction and have it ready and ready to tie in when that building's under construction and developed.
That's where we would really type power anyway, because we. Sooner, if you get back at you, one of the solar doesn't work.
I have a motion and you with John?
We'd like to direct Brian and the finance department to work it out so it can be in next year's budget and move forward with that one.
Can you make that motion?
So you don't want to start
I don't want to
crew until we have a.
start immediately until we have the
finance is worked out on the agreement between the city and the utility for payback and the terms.
That way you can get started on the permits for board under the highway, that makes sense.
You come up with that, doing that by next council meeting?
Sure, whatever the proposal is, it's, on our end, it's just simply put that $600K in our capital. That will be our main project for next year.
Is that a motion, Rick?
So when you draw up the line, overhead for the 600K, is that eventually just gonna be useless soon?
I'm sorry,
So when you draw the overhead line from, over by 98,
yeah, and this,
once we eventually get a master plan and have stuff ready to go down, Highway 89, and we think up to Horseshoe Bend with a master plan, is the 600K that we spend for overhead just gonna go away? Is it just gonna be useless, or is that power still gonna be needed there?
there's a lot of possible outcomes to that answer. Part of the cost is gonna be underbuilding the 69 kV. That's something those power poles are already there. And that's something that the utility had planned on doing someday anyway. For example, this is gonna be, we have that agreement on the line proposed. As this area gets more and more interest for development, we actually have a reclosure set aside for a feeder to come down to this part for future development. That's just part of our master plan. So that's part of that cost. But this section over here, that's correct. So down the road, council will have a couple of decisions to make. Do you want to let that stay there? Do you want to put that underground? Or, in our world, we love to have what we call loop feeds. So in other words, if we have one of our talented drivers take out a section can over here, rather than taking that feeder out, we can open it up and then backfeed and keep customers on. That's just, we have what we call loop feeds all over the page. We do the best we can. So, or if it's deemed down the road, like if this thing is ugly, we want